It was a busy week in politics from Richmond to Washington. Virginia escaped a government shutdown. The DOJ took aim at a new state gun law, and the Supreme Court handed down decisions that could reshape presidential power and voting rights for years to come. I'm Miley Miyabi, and this is Political Pulse. First, in Virginia, lawmakers narrowly avoided a looming government shutdown Monday. They sent a final version of the budget to the governor's desk less than 48 hours before the deadline. This after Abigail Spanberger tacked on more than a dozen amendments. One was a water conservation requirement for data centers in eastern Virginia. Critics argue its vague language walks back the data center tax exemption compromise that broke a multi-week stalemate.
But to take out and strip the protections that we got, in my mind, is just beyond the pale.
The approved edits also delayed a ban on open carrying assault weapons until July 1st, 2027, with some Republicans saying the courts will likely block it from ever being enforced. The Justice Department filed a federal lawsuit against the Commonwealth of Virginia and Virginia State Police Wednesday over a law restricting the commercial purchase and sale of certain semi-automatic rifles. The law, signed by Governor Abigail Spanberger on May 14th, does not mandate current owners to surrender any firearms. The Justice Department alleges that the law deprives Virginians of constitutional rights protected by the Second Amendment. The law was set to take effect July 1st, but an injunction for Virginia State Police and certain localities prevents it from being enforced as litigation continues. And for Virginians with older criminal records on offenses on their record, a law that took effect Tuesday could help give them a fresh start with jobs and housing. The Virginia Clean Slate Law took effect July 1st, automatically sealing an estimated 110,000 misdemeanor records and allowing certain low-level felonies to be sealed only through petition and judicial approval. Low-level crimes, including the possession of marijuana, shoplifting, and trespassing, as well as other misdemeanors and deferred dismissals, were among the sealed offenses, provided that an individual has gone 7 years without a criminal conviction. Low-level felonies also qualified for sealing with judicial approval, but require a clean record for at least 10 years. Violent felonies are not eligible to be sealed. And if you've received Virginia unemployment benefits, you can expect more money in your pockets beginning July 5th. The Virginia Employment Commission is raising the minimum weekly benefit from $112 to $160, and the maximum is climbing from $430 to $478. The change could put an estimated $75 million into the pockets of Virginians as they search for work. Only claims filed on or after the 5th are eligible, and claims cannot be backdated. Governor Abigail Spanberger signed a package of bills Tuesday aimed at addressing the high cost of energy for Virginia families and meeting the Commonwealth's long-term energy needs. The legislation aims to increase energy storage targets to lower peak prices for ratepayers, improve the energy efficiency of Virginians' homes, and reduce heating and energy costs for families who need it most. The governor also made it official, rejoining the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, known as RGGI. Virginia first joined in 2021 before withdrawing under former Governor Glenn Youngkin in 2023. The governor's office projects that rejoining RGGI will save Virginians money, decrease long-term costs, and reduce environmental pollution. The Supreme Court rejecting President Trump's attempt to end birthright citizenship Tuesday. Chief Justice John Roberts citing the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, which was adopted after the Civil War. The decision blocks the president's executive order, which declared children born to people in the country illegally or temporarily are not American citizens. 3 conservative justices, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Neil Gorsuch, dissented. The Supreme Court expanded presidential power Monday, striking down a 91-year-old ruling that limits the president's power to fire federal agency board members. In a 6-3 vote, the court upheld President Trump's decision to fire Rebecca Slaughter, a Democratic member of the Federal Trade Commission. The justices overturned a decision known as Humphrey's executor, which had protected independent agency board members from being fired for political reasons. Trump also attempted to fire a Federal Reserve Governor, Lisa Cook, citing allegations of mortgage fraud, which Cook denies. In a separate 5-4 vote, the court ruled Cook can keep her job for now while the case continues in lower courts. The ruling gives Trump the power to fire members of roughly 24 independent federal agencies without cause and appoint replacements. And with just over 4 months until midterm elections, the Supreme Court upheld a Mississippi mail-in ballot law Monday in a 5-4 vote. The Republican National Committee had challenged the law, arguing ballots must be received by Election Day. The court disagreed, Ruling ballots can be counted as long as they're postmarked by Election Day and received within 5 business days after. The decision also protects similar laws in more than a dozen states. President Donald Trump says he'll continue to fight the verdict against him in the civil case brought by magazine columnist E. Jean Carroll. He spoke after the Supreme Court on Monday declined to take up his appeal over the verdict, which found him liable for defamation and battery. Trump on social media said, surprisingly, the court declined to review the case, which he described as fake. Carroll sued Trump in 2022 and won a $5 million judgment after claiming Trump sexually assaulted her at a New York department store in the 1990s. She also claimed he later defamed her by saying she made up the story to boost her book sales. Trump has denied any wrongdoing and said the judge in the trial made numerous errors. Carroll also won an $83 million judgment against Trump in a separate defamation case filed in 2019. He now owes her more than $100 million, including interest. And that's a wrap for this week's Political Pulse. I'm your host, Isla Miyabi. I'll be back with you next week for your rundown.